So I wanted to introduce another idea, and that's the notion that what I do with Noble Ape is unique in the context of Noble Ape, but it's not relatively that unique. There are other people creating these simulations, and while there aren't a huge number of people the world over creating these simulations, I've been able to interview maybe in the order of 40 such people through an organization called biota.org. Now, in 2000, well, Boat has been around since the mid-90s. I mean, it's basically the same age as Noble Ape. And it was originally a series of conferences. So people like the late Douglas Adams, Richard Dawkins, a variety of folk attended the conferences and gave various talks. In fact, Dawkins' book, The God Delusion, begins with Douglas Adams at the second Biota conference. And just clearly a lot of impactful thinkers, a lot of impactful ideas through this Biota thing. But in 2004, 2005, Bruce Damer, who started the Biota project, got in contact with me, and, well, he and I had been corresponding for years. I mean, they'd wanted me to speak at a Biota conference and what have you. I was traveling at the time, it wasn't possible. But there were a number of people that were contacting me around a similar time frame, and Bruce wanted me to start interviewing, or at least start talking about the community associated with the skills and the background and the needs and all these kind of things, with the view that there were, of the 40 or so, there were probably 10 super active folk, of which I was one. And what these people all had in common was that they all had many, many different interests. Like, they were interested in doing a lot of different stuff. If you write these kind of simulations, you've got to have a lot of different areas of knowledge. Obviously, a lot of them were people that were formally trained in biology, but there were a good group that were formally trained in physics. There were a good group that were, computer science folk. There were a wide variety of different folk that came to this thing, but they all had lots of different knowledge in lots of different areas, because when you create one of these kind of simulations, if you don't have it initially, you're going to have to start learning about a lot of different stuff. In this case, it was typically a lot of book reading, but also there was a lot of hands-on stuff. There was a lot of speculative work, and you had to look at things very dynamically. Now, a lot of folks came to artificial life simulation with a set of pre-existing ideas, and they used a set of pre-existing tools, basically. When I started developing Noble Ape, I came to it with a completely different set of tools than most folk. But with the Biota community, I had the opportunity of interviewing a number of folk that had developed artificial life software and continue to develop artificial life software. But this software is pretty labor-intensive, it's pretty intellectually intensive, and a lot of these folk, got jobs where they couldn't work on Noble Ape. There are actually jobs, particularly in the tech industry, where you're not allowed to do this kind of stuff. And I've been very lucky in my career to, take jobs that allow me to continue to work on Noble Ape. But also, they'll have kids, they'll have a wide variety of things that'll happen in their lives where this discipline, this interest, this thing that they do with simulation, they can't maintain it. So one of the things that's relatively unique about Noble Ape is the length of time that I've maintained it and the amount of stuff that I've done. But I wanted to introduce the notion that I'm not alone, that there is a community of developers out there that do stuff like this, although technically Noble Ape's relatively unique in terms of just the breadth of stuff that has gone into it. But certainly there are a number of academic projects, a few ongoing academic projects that have similarities to some of the aspects of Noble Ape. And in particular, the nature of the folks that do these kind of simulations, they typically tend to be relatively interesting folk. I mean, although I'm slightly biased. So I just want to put that idea out there to introduce that this, while being apparently unique to people that may not have any background in this, not actually too unique, but still there are a number of people that are doing this, and they all have particular interests and proclivities.